Morning everybody. I thought I'd start off at home in the greenhouse, which is a complete mess because I just haven't had time to get around to it. But I also realise that every time I post a video, I always forget to say, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Please comment if you have any in the box below. And please consider subscribing because I really need you to help me grow this channel and make it worthwhile to carry on making videos, which I'd love to do for you. So please subscribe down below. Thank you. I've just been potting up a load of seed today, ready for the shop, the allotment shop, and also for the food bank. So kohlrabies, I've got some calabrese, some red cabbages, cauliflowers, quite a few cauliflowers, ready for people for autumn and winter sowing. And over here, I've still got to pot up the spring cabbages here, but they're ready now. They look beautiful. So I shall get those done pretty quick so they can get going. See, these are the January Kings. Look at those seeds. Look at those little plants from the seed. And I put them in exactly the same time as the rest of them. And they're just the tail end of some Cavolo Nero. But they're just horrible. They're not really nice, but I'm gonna leave them, see what happens. And then for me, and the food bank is a tray of cauliflowers. While we're in here, I'll show you that I bought some garlic ready for autumn sowing, and I'd stopped growing elephant garlic, that's this one, but I thought this year I would plant a couple, partly because getting hold of the bulbs and everything else is really difficult, and I just think, well, if I've got them I can save my own seed for future. So we bought these from the Isle of Wight garlic company. These ones here are ones from this year's crop, and they're not looking too bad. If anything, some of them are better than the bought ones. And these are bought ones as well. So I'll be making a space ready for that autumn planting in September, probably mid-September. Oh yeah, mid-September I'll put them in. So here are some of the seeds that I've been sowing ready for our plot and also the food bank plot. So I've got some chard there and 2 lots of turnips, I think they are, just here. Hang on, let me have a little look at because one of them's radish. Oh, that one's radish, this one's turnips. This is the other tray of turnips. Some spring onions which are nearly ready to plant. I'm gonna, because it's been so cool, I'm gonna give it a chance to grow some spinach. So I've done a row of spinach there. And for my own plot, which I don't need as much, I've got some Tokyo cross turnips and a few radishes. And I've popped in some tatsoi, but they're not doing too well. There's a couple that are coming up, but that's okay. I'll plant this tray and leave them. And then I've got a couple of kales, different variety kales to pop in. This is Red Russian, and this is just an ordinary curly cow. And then some brassicas for winter, and this is purple sprouting broccoli, and I'm not quite sure what else there is. Hang on, let me just have a look and see if I can see the label. So there is some claret, which is purple sprouting broccoli, and colettes, and some winter cabbages, which haven't been growing very well for me. I've been sowing Savoy cabbages and the seed has been terrible. I might even have to buy another packet. And then some Brussels sprouts, so they will be going in hopefully next week, now that I've cleared some of the potatoes. but quite a lot ready to go in the next few days, and ready to sow a load more seeds. Here's a tray of very sorry cabbages, well, a part of a tray left over from a planting that I've already done on the allotment. And I thought that I would, although they look really desperate, so they run out of nutrition because the cells are quite small and they're probably a bit constricted because they've grown out of these cells. So I'm going to pot them up into these pots until I'm ready to plant them. So here's a tray of cauliflowers that looked just like those that I potted up, and you can see that they do spring up into a lovely plant. So they do revive themselves once you give them some feed and a bit of space, and these are nearly ready to go in as well. I'm lifting all my potatoes, which is where these will go, but I've had to hang on to them for a while, but you can see it's worth doing. So I'm popping all of the cabbages in here, and this variety's Clarifex, which is a pointed cabbage and is my favourite, and is the other reason why I want to save them. So I'm putting them up, plant them nice and deep, and then give them a drink and they'll perk up in no time. You can see I've had some nibblings on these leaves, which means there must be some little critters around. And as I'm potting up, I'm checking them, and lo and behold, I don't know if you can see, there is the little caterpillar. So that will come off. It's having a nice little time there, but not for much longer. So you know when you've got an old packet seed and you think, I'll just bung extra in because they're not all going to germinate, and then they all germinate. This is the this is what you get. I'm going to prick up as many of these as I possibly can be bothered with. I'm already starting on one tray here, but I think there's going to be a few trays of cabbages, spring cabbages, amongst that lot. But there's always willing people to take them. That's the good thing. That's 2 trays of spring cabbages potted up, and it won't take long until they'll be ready to plant out. Still a lot more to do, but that's a really good start. I'm on the allotment. It's overcast, but at least it's dry, which means that we can get some work done. And we're in this transition period of moving from sort of early spring, early summer crops into autumn, winter crops. So I just want to show you the onions and shallots, which I pointed out to you in the last video, but I'll just talk to you about what we're going to be doing today. So here are the onions, and I did talk about in the last video that I might be starting to clear these, but I'm going to do that today. It's going to be one of my today jobs, and they are kind of ready, but they could stay in for a few more weeks. Some of them, the necks are just beginning to turn, so realistically they could stay a few more weeks, but I'm not going to. I'm going to take these out. The reason that I'm going to take them out, so could they last a bit longer? Well, yeah, they could. Could they grow any more? Maybe they could, but we've had a few dry days and we're going to have some wet weather coming up over the next week, so I want to lift them while they're relatively dry. That will make their drying and storage and their likelihood to dry out nicely a bit higher than if I left them in for another little while to get rained on over the next week. So that's one reason. The second reason I'm going to take them out is because they're pretty big now, and a tiny bit more growth isn't really going to give me that much, and I need the space, so it's a good time to take them out. And lastly, I've got to prep the soil, and my plants to go in are ready, so I really don't want to leave it much longer. Now, these are kind of decisions that you need to make given the weather and your experience and what crops you've got to go in. If I had nothing else going in, I would probably just leave them for a little while longer, but I have, so I'm going to take them out. That's why it's really hard to say to people, oh, you need to do this at this time, you need to do that. You've got to actually judge some of that on a little bit of experience, what your weather and plot and where you live is doing, and you've got to make that judgment. And sometimes we get it very wrong. So, but you put that down to learning, and this is what growing's about. You learn on the job. So these onions are looking really nice. They're pretty big, nice big onions. These ones are shallots, and they're nice shallots too. And they'll go home and they'll be in the dry while they dry off and get ready for storing for the rest of the season. There's not enough here to last us through the winter, but they are wonderful and we really enjoy them. A lot of people say, why don't you just buy onions, they're really cheap. But there's nothing like eating your own onions. And shallots are really expensive, especially shallots this size, so we will grow them. And there's nothing like the taste of your own shallot in your dinner. So these onions I've grown from seed, and you can see in the bundles there are more than one onion in the bundles, usually about 3 is what I aim for. And you can see how they look once they grow, and that there's not a problem in putting more than one seed into a cell and growing them like that, because they just push one another out. So that's why we always multi-sow seeds, and you get more crop from a smaller space. And here are the shallots I grew from seed, and I can't remember whether these are Zebrun or Long Pink Florence. But again, I wanted to show you, these are multi-seeded cells that I do. Sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 3, but you can see that they just sort themselves out when you multi-sow them. Beautiful shallots, absolutely, and I'm definitely going to grow more of these next year. So with the other shallots that I just showed you, I grew from seed and put 3, sometimes 4 seeds into a cell. These are shallots, but you put in one bulb and they split, and you get, well, I think there's about 2, 4, 6, 7 there. So that's the difference between planting the shallots as a set and planting shallots as a seed. Also, as seed, you get a lot more varieties that you can choose from. So I shall now lift all of these shallots as well. I started lifting the Charlotte potatoes about a week or so ago, and I've lifted all 4 rows now and started to plant my purple sprouting broccoli. So I've got enough room to plant 2 rows, but I'm also going to lift the kestrel potatoes, at least a row or 2 now. I've just tested one and the potatoes are good, so they are ready to come up. So I shall do that, and then that way I'll be able to continue with planting some of our brassicas for the winter and spring. So I'm going to lift the second one of these kestrels. As I said, we're no dig, so you can see how they're just on the surface of the soil, and they're really clean, nice potatoes. And you can there's the seed potato that can go on the compost, but you've got to make sure, and you can tell that they're kestrels. They've got this purple colouring around the eyes. This has got a little bit of scab, but on the whole they're really clean potatoes, and you can see how easy they are to lift using the no dig method. So have a little dig around. So I'm very happy with that. So this is one row of the kestrels, and they're really big, lovely jacket potatoes. These will make, they're huge, some of these, and they taste really good. They're really lovely potatoes. I'm glad that we've found this variety. I'm just going to plant another row of brassicas in there, and then I may lift the other 2 rows of kestrel so that I can carry on planting. In the end, I lifted 3 rows of kestrel potatoes, and this is all of them, and some of them, I must say, are ginormous. Absolutely beautiful baking potatoes, and a lot of them are like that, really huge and so clean, no scab, no nothing. There's 1 or 2 with a tiny bit on, but they're amazing, and I'm going to put that down to all the rain we've had at the size of these potatoes. I've got a few more rows to lift of something called Sagita, and then that's all the potatoes lifted and hopefully stored. But they very, very pleased with them. I brought home the basket of onions, which there are many, and the shallots, both the ones I grew from seed and the ones from sets, which are actually over here. And now I'm going to dry them outside so that I can store them, and once they're a bit drier, I'll sort them out into the ones that we can store and the ones that we'll use, and the ones that we'll have to use straight away. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, happy gardening. Bye.